So welcome to the series of GATE Excellent Questions. So here I am going to present you one very important question which comes under the classification of tricky question. So let us see what makes this particular question as tricky. So this question belongs to the subject of signals and systems from the chapter of Z transforms from the topic of ROC, the region of convergence of Z transform. So let us read the question. X of n is equal to 1 by 3 whole power mod of n minus 1 by 2 whole power n u of n. Then the region of convergence ROC of its Z transform in the Z plane will be dash. So four options are given which indicate the the ROC of the Z transform. Now to solve this particular problem, you should know the prerequisite, which is the causal function and anti-causal function. So what is a causal function? The causal function is something which satisfies f of n is equal to the of 0 for n less than 0. And similarly anti-causal function is one which satisfies f of n is equal to 0 for n greater than 0. So we study in the class that whenever you have a causal function, the ROC is always going to be outwards in nature. Okay? In the case of Z transform, whenever we learn about the causal functions, the ROC we observe for Z transform is going to be outwards in nature. So when you have the linear addition of the causal functions, addition and subtraction of the causal functions, then the ROC is going to be bounded by the outermost of the pole. Okay, this point we apply generally when we learn about the combination of the causal functions which are linear in nature. Similarly, when you have a combination of anti-causal functions which are linearly operated, in that particular case the ROC is going to be inwards, because anti-causal functions, the ROC is always inwards in nature, bounded by the innermost of the pole. Causal functions bounded by the outermost of the pole. In the case of anti-causal functions, it is going to be bounded by the innermost of the pole. In the case of causal, ROC is outwards in nature. In the case of anti-causal, ROC is inwards in nature. So now the problem is that how to interpret 1 by 3 mod of n, how to write it as causal and anti-causal parts. 1 by 3 mod of n, you should understand the mathematical, we should have the mathematical understanding of what is mod of n. So mathematically mod of n is equal to the mod of n is equal to n for n greater than 0, and it is equal to the of minus n for n less than 0, equal to 0 for n equal to 0. Right? So I can divide this particular function, which is 1 by 3 whole power mod of n. This is the tricky part of the question, how to write this particular function in terms of causal and anti-causal parts. So 1 by 3 whole power mod of n can be, according to this knowledge, we can write it as equal to 1 by 3 whole power n for n greater than 0, because we know mod of n is equal to n for n greater than or equal to 0. So 1 by 3 whole power n for n greater than or equal to 0, and it is equal to the of 1 by 3 whole power mod of n is equal to minus n for n less than 0. So it is equal to 1 by 3 whole power n for n greater than or equal to 0, and it is equal to the of 1 by 3 whole power minus n is equal to the of 3 power n, which is for n less than 0. So this is your function, which is 1 by 3 whole power mod of n, which again, because for n greater than or equal to 0, the function, the causal part, and n less than 0 will be the anti-causal part. So therefore I can write 1 by 3 whole power mod of n is equal to the of 1 by 3 whole power n u of n plus 1 by 3. In fact, it is going to be 3 power n for n less than 0, which is the anti-causal part. The anti-causal representation is nothing but u of minus n minus 1. The anti-causal part of the step function, u of minus n minus 1. Now here we go, if you substitute in the x of n, so 1 by 3 whole power n u of n, this part which is also the causal part, 1 by 2 whole power n u of n, and the anti-causal part which is 3 power n u of minus n minus 1. So now you have x of n, you have a combination of the causal parts and an anti-causal part, and in the case of an anti-causal part, 3 is going to be the pole, right? So r is going to be less than that of 3, or mod z is going to be less than that of 3, because anti-causal part inverts in nature, So therefore the ROC is going to be less than that of 3, where 3 is the pole. And here you have two poles for causal parts. 1 by 3 is one of the pole and 1 by 2 is the other pole. So ROC is going to be bounded by the outermost of the pole, and the outermost pole is 1 by 2, because 1 by 3 is smaller than that of 1 by 2. So the ROC is going to be bounded and it is going to be causal. So the ROC is outside-ed in nature. So therefore R is greater than that of 1 by 2. In the case of a causal part, the ROC is going to be outwards in nature, related as R greater than that of, bounded by the outermost of the pole. Whereas in the case of an anti-causal part, it is going to be inwards in nature. When you have inwards, it's going to be R less than. When it is outwards, it is R greater than. In the case of inwards, it's going to be less than. So now the combination of both of them, the intersection of ROC is R greater than 1 by 2 and R less than 3. The intersection of both of them is nothing but R in between that of 1 by 2 and 3, which implies that the mod Z value is between that of 1 by 2 and 3. So the tricky part of this particular question lies in how you are going to write your 1 by 3 whole power mod of n. So once you are able to write this, then it is a straight away the application of the concept of the Z transform ROC. Thank you for watching this lecture.